Imagine waking up one day to find yourself stranded in the middle of a vast, endless ocean, with no land in sight, no food, no water, and no idea where you're going. This is not a nightmare. It's the reality that Ferdinand Magellan and his crew faced during their historic journey across the Pacific Ocean. Their story is one of the most incredible and harrowing tales of human endurance in history. It's a story of bravery, determination, and the unyielding spirit of exploration. In the early 16th century, the world was a much larger and more mysterious place than it is today. Maps were incomplete, and much of the Earth's surface was unknown. One of the greatest mysteries of the time was the existence of a passage through the Americas that would connect the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific. This passage, if found, would revolutionize trade and navigation, making the journey from Europe to Asia much faster and safer. It was this quest that drove Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese navigator, to embark on one of the most ambitious and dangerous expeditions in history. Magellan's journey began in 1519 when he set sail from Spain with a fleet of 5 ships and a crew of over 270 men. His goal was to find a route to the Spice Islands, a group of islands in the Pacific Ocean that were rich in valuable spices like cloves and nutmeg. These spices were highly sought after in Europe, and the profits from their trade could make anyone incredibly wealthy. However, the journey was not just about wealth. It was also about proving that the world was round and that it was possible to circumnavigate the globe. The first part of the journey was relatively smooth. The fleet sailed down the coast of South America, searching for the elusive passage. They faced many challenges, including harsh weather, limited supplies, and a crew that was growing increasingly restless. But the real test came when they finally discovered what is now known as the Strait of Magellan, a treacherous waterway that connects the Atlantic to the Pacific. Navigating the strait was a daunting task. The waterway was filled with narrow channels, hidden rocks, and unpredictable currents. The crew had to be constantly vigilant to avoid disaster. After a month of struggling through the strait, they emerged into a vast, calm ocean that Magellan named the Pacific, which means peaceful. But the peace was short-lived, and the real challenges were just beginning. Once they entered the Pacific, the fleet faced a series of devastating setbacks. The first and most immediate problem was the lack of food and water. They had no idea how far they would have to sail to reach the Spice Islands, and their supplies were running dangerously low. The crew began to suffer from starvation and a terrible disease called scurvy, which is caused by a lack of vitamin C. Scurvy is a gruesome illness that causes bleeding gums, loose teeth, and open sores on the skin. Many men died, and those who survived were weak and in constant pain. As if the physical hardships weren't enough, the crew also faced psychological challenges. Being stuck on a ship for months with no land in sight can drive anyone to the brink of madness. The crew started to lose hope, and mutiny became a real threat. Magellan had to maintain his authority and keep the crew's spirits up, even when he himself was unsure of their fate. Despite the overwhelming odds, Magellan refused to give up. He was a man of unwavering determination, and he believed that they would eventually reach their destination. He kept the crew moving forward, even when it seemed like there was no end in sight. They sailed for over 3 months, covering a distance of more than 12,600 miles, which is the equivalent of sailing from New York to Tokyo and back. Finally, in March 1521, they reached the Mariana Islands, a chain of islands in the Pacific. The islands were a welcome sight, and the crew was able to restock their supplies. However, their troubles were far from over. They continued on to the Philippines, where Magellan met with a local chieftain named Lapu-Lapu. Initially, the meeting was friendly, but tensions soon arose. Magellan, in his zeal to spread Christianity and establish a trade agreement, decided to intervene in a local conflict. This decision proved to be fatal. During a battle with Lapu-Lapu's forces, Magellan was killed. The death of Magellan was a devastating blow to the expedition. However, the crew, led by Juan Sebastián Elcano, continued on to the Spice Islands. They finally reached their goal, but the journey was far from over. The fleet had been reduced to just 1 ship, the Victoria, and the crew was in a state of extreme exhaustion. They had to make the long journey back to Spain, facing more challenges and dangers along the way. On September 6, 1522, The Victoria, with only 18 of the original 270 men, returned to Spain. They had accomplished what no one had ever done before. They had circumnavigated the globe. The journey had taken 3 years, and it had come at a great cost. But it proved that the world was indeed round, and it opened up new possibilities for exploration and trade. Magellan's journey is a testament to the human spirit. It shows that even in the face of incredible adversity, people can achieve great things. The crew of the Victoria, led by Magellan and then by Elcano, faced challenges that are almost unimaginable today. They suffered from hunger, disease, and the constant threat of death, but they never gave up. Their story is a reminder that sometimes the greatest achievements come from the most difficult journeys. Today, we take for granted the ease with which we can travel around the world, but we should remember the courage and determination of those who came before us, like Ferdinand Magellan and his crew. Their story is not just a tale of exploration. It is a story of human resilience and the unyielding desire to discover the unknown.